Hello, madcaps, and welcome back. Welcome back to the Miscellaneous Debris Podcast. That's right. For part two, numero dos, of the Debris Double Tap. That's right. As I explained in the first pod of the Debris Double Tap, we're doing a double tap. Because of, lack of potting the past couple of weeks. But anyway, if you're listening to this one first, hi, how you doing? Hope you've been well since we last spoke. But please go back and listen to the first one. So, thank you for checking out the second pod of the week. And again, pretty good here at the Madhouse MK. Hope you've all been well. Since just listening to the last pod, to be honest. Although I do got to say, I have this barking dog here, and I had to wait to get the pod going earlier because, for whatever reason, I don't know if the owners have been gone more recently, but there's a good period of time just about every night where this dog just goes ham. It's quite annoying. Just goes ham. Just barking galore. I think there might be two of them. But I just hear this and I just want to go say something because it's annoying. Realize I live in an apartment complex, but come the fuck on. And it reminds me of this Tom Segura bit. Tom Segura, good comedian. Might be a little closer to another comedian than I prefer, but he's got this bit, Segura does, about being at the movie theater, hearing a baby cry, and he turns around and asks the parents, like, are you stabbing your baby? And they're like, no. Well, could you? Because I'm trying to watch the movie. That's what I want to do to these people in their dog. I'm sorry, are you stabbing your dogs? No, of course not. Well, could you? I'm trying to watch BattleBots. Speaking of BattleBots kicks ass this year. I love what dudes are doing with the robots these days. If you don't like BattleBots, if you don't know BattleBots, go check. It's on Discovery. If you got the Discovery Plus app, that is still one of my favorites. I mean, how can you not? If you love, they got space stuff. You got how the universe works, space's deepest secrets, NASA's unexplained files, all sorts of stuff. Then you got things like that are really cool, like What on Earth, Mysteries of the Abandoned, all sorts of cool stuff. And then you got good shows like BattleBots. So big fan of the sciencey type stuff, obviously. And I love me some BattleBots. And they battled in the Super Bowl, and I talked a little bit about that last pod, but what I didn't talk about in the first pod was some of the commercials, because it's kind of disappointing, right? There's a couple of good ones, There was the Big Lebowski-ish bowling alley. Peyton Manning, some other bowlers in there, all athletes. Then you had Buscemi, good old Steve Buscemi as like the bartender. It was good stuff. I liked that one. There were a couple other okay ones, but it's also about movie trailers, right? And so it was cool to see Moon Knight. I've been seeing the previews for that. That looks really good. At the very beginning, when I first turned on the Super Bowl, right before it started, they had the Jurassic Park Dominion go. How fucking good does that look? I'm sorry. If you're not a fan, some people aren't as big in the Jurassic World. I'm going to tell you. Very, very early on in my youth, a movie called Jurassic Park came out. And as I've talked about, my dad, him and I had a special bond, and he had a different kind of style of parenting. And he was big on, if you're going to get into something, that you is probably a little past your age, things like that, hang out at home. Like he was big on, if you're going to watch a rated R movie, watch it with me. So if you have any questions, things like that, you can understand, hey, you can't say this, you can't do this. This is just a movie, et cetera, et cetera. And he used to, after my mom went to bed, he used to let me sneak out and watch TV with him. And this is how I got into a bunch of stuff that I got into nowadays. Like, for example, he got me into the Alien movies, the Predator movies. That's some of my favorite shit. I have all my toys over here, which I don't even know. For those watching on video, I got this awesome rhino alien for Christmas. He's fucking badass, isn't he? Yeah, I love that shit. I love that stuff. It's right up my alley. But my dad introduced me to a lot of that stuff, you know? Shows, movies, whatever. It's totally good for that. And then it got to a point where every once in a while he'd take me to the movie theater, late night showing. And the very first one, the very first time he did it, took me to see Jurassic Park. And I had been dying to see this movie. And he took me to a late night premiere. It was a blast. And then I proceeded to see Jurassic Park in the theater an additional 4 times. I saw that movie 5 times total in the theater. I still remember that. I went and got the book so I could read the book, got the Lost World book, got the audio books. Like, that was my shit. So I was extremely happy because, you know, Jurassic Park 3 was cool. I don't harp on that shit. You know me. I'm not as picky when it comes to movies and stuff. Did it entertain me? Okay, then it was worth watching. And so I did enjoy Jurassic Park 3, obviously not as much as the other 2, but you know, a lot of people bitching about Jurassic Park 3. It was fine. Back off a little bit. But I was certainly ready to see some more from that world. And therefore, I really like Jurassic World. And I kind of found Jurassic World to be akin to Jurassic Park in the same kind of way that, like, The Force Awakens from Star Wars is kind of like A New Hope. And they kind of mirror each other. There's some parallels there. There's some parts of the storyline that are similarly followed. And I felt like it was the same with that, with Jurassic World. And I really dug it. And then Fallen Kingdom is a bit different. It's good. And it also kind of has a little bit of that Lost World vibe to it. And I really enjoyed them. And this new one looks awesome. The dinosaurs are here. They're here and they're everywhere. And we're trying to learn to live with them, coexist with them. And we get to see Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler and Ian Malcolm, although he was kind of in the other Jurassic World movie. But we get to see them, oh yeah, big time in the new one. So you get the Jurassic Park crew, the Jurassic World crew, Jurassic Park Dominion. I'm just super excited for it. But I just love the dinosaur shit, man. And like I said, I got a little bit of a soft spot in my heart for all Jurassic Park stuffs. So, but then what was really phenomenal, it got leaked a little bit before the Super Bowl. I ended up seeing it, but the trailer for Peele's new movie, Nope, that looks amazing. I love alien shit. This would appear to be about an alien invasion, and I'm with him. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. But it looks great. It looks great. And I always just love the titles of dudes' movies. Just fantastic. Excuse me. So, speaking of Nope, hear about the Soup Police? I'm sure you did. Good old crazy ass Marjorie Taylor Greene accused Nancy Pelosi of leading a gazpacho police. The correct term is Gestapo, but she decided to go with the soup. And then she tried to defend herself by just talking about Joe Biden and how he can't put words together. And I'm like, have you heard Trump talk? Like, these fucking people. Ridiculous. Anyway. Gazpacho. So lots of Bitcoin promotion also going on in commercials and things like that. And it's crazy to me because I hear a lot of my podcasts and stuff like that. And you got a lot of dudes touting the Bitcoin promotion. But and then you're introducing the NFTs and stuff. And it's just, to me, like, what the fuck are we doing? Are we people really buying into this? But it would seem, yeah, people are. And it says I should have a goddamn article for this, but I don't. Where is it? Oh wait, I'll pull it up. Sorry, 1 second. Bitcoin Ponzi scheme. Not just Bitcoin, but cryptocurrency in general. Bit of a Ponzi scheme. And according to this article on JacobinMag.com, it's by Sahal Andres Mortazavi. I guess I should have tried his name a few times before getting it. It's not merely a bad investment or speculative bubble. It's worse than that. It's full-on fraud. But he's talking about the blockchains, which are at their core simply append-only spreadsheets maintained across decentralized peer-to-peer networks, not unlike those used for torrenting pirated files. Just as torrents allow users to share files directly, cryptocurrency blockchains allow users to maintain a shared ledger of financial transactions without the need of a central server or managing authority. Users are thus able to make direct online transactions with one another as if they were trading cash. And it's told that it's revolutionary, but no. This article, and it will be posted in the show notes, really details a lot of this. And it's really worth looking into, because here's the thing, is that most people who get into the crypto game, the money put in, they're never going to see back. They're never going to make back even what they put in, let alone more. Okay. And it's all based on how this works, because it's these cryptocurrency, it's only really a viable thing in that world, the crypto world, right? So anywhere that doesn't take crypto, it's nothing, right? So that's one thing. And then the money you're putting into it is just going into mining more crypto, which again, it's not going to really bring you back a bunch of cash return, right? It's a really weird thing. And you can really see, especially after looking at the data in this article, how this is a bit of a scam. Like, it's what it seems to me. I've never gotten into it, but it's the same thing with the NFTs. Like, you can purchase the link to these digital pictures, but remember there's that NBA thing going on where you could buy like video clips. I don't even remember what the hell that thing was called. It's really weird what people are trying to sell. And here's the thing. It's unregulated in a way that it's easy for people to scam. People are doing this with the NFTs, where it's like, oh, hey, get on and buy this NFT, take your money, run. They take money and run. They do, like, it's too easy, to scam people with this sort of thing. And so I just stay away personally. But, the other reason to think about this is, the planet's already in enough trouble. Crypto is not good. Miners mining Bitcoin, you can't do it on this personal computer. The cryptocurrency, is the majority of it is now conducted in commercial, according to this article, mining farms, which are the huge warehouses, and they run thousands of high-powered computer processors day and night. The electricity expended mining Bitcoin, and well, maybe not just Bitcoin, it said Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies is rapidly approaching 1% of global usage, which is famously greater than the total electricity consumption of many smaller developed nations. In other words, it's just putting carbon out there into the atmosphere. Really, what it comes down to is the bottom line is cryptocurrency needs to continue to bring in money to cover the cost of mining, because that's where the money is going. Without that, it's going to become financially insolvent. The cryptocurrency market, it oft-touted $2 trillion market cap, calculated by multiplying existing coins by the latest spot price. And it's a meaningless figure because, according to this, nowhere near that much has actually been invested into cryptocurrencies. Nowhere near 2 trillion has been invested into cryptocurrencies. Nowhere near that much will ever come out of that. So it's the money invested, gone forever. It's now carbon released in the atmosphere. And it's Bitcoin, crypto. And it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out in the future. But it just blew my mind how much of this we've seen. And it was actually this wrestling podcast I listened to. Shout out to the Purocast, which, covers New Japan Pro Wrestling, my favorite shit, some of my favorite shit. But they were kind of, one of the guys on there, Joel, was kind of talking about this stuff. And so I had to do some digging and research of my own. And this article that I found it really gives you a great look into it. And I highly suggest reading it. I probably did a piss poor job of explaining some of it. I should have read it several more times before trying to talk about it, perhaps. And I'd like to get guests on here at some point. It'd be nice to get someone on here that could really talk about this, because it's really interesting stuff. And again, when you really look deeply into it, it doesn't seem like the most feasible thing to be investing in. I'll say that much. And, not great that it's just adding to the goddamn climate emergency. Like it's just, yeah, go crypto, just keep pounding out that carbon into the atmosphere. But then recently all the snow in Denver, across the US, the winter weather, and some might go, see what global warming. You've heard that before, right? Look at the snow, what global warming? Fucking idiot. Actually, not only climate, weather, bit of a difference there, but actually climate change would produce more precipitation in all forms. I read the thing. More rain, more snow, and all of that produce more flooding, loss of habitats. None of that shit's good. Now, either way you slice it, the climate shit, not good, madcaps. And it seems like we're kind of past that threshold, right? Where, like, maybe we can try and slow it down, and maybe we can reverse it, but there's going to be a whole lot of damage. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, if it gets better. Which is why we need to get the space travel shit down, Good old Elon Musk. Him and them boys, they're working on it. You got some rich people flying into space. And it seems like it. I've heard this theory where all these rich people are getting into space because they just want to They eventually want to go settle on Mars and leave all us poor people behind on Earth. Did I maybe hear that on the Libertard show? Maybe that's where I heard it. It makes sense that the elites, quote unquote, ruling the world, that they would want to gallop off into space while the planet burns around all us normies, all us poor simpletons. Speaking of Musk, how about those brain transplants? That is, yeah, don't get left behind. Don't get left behind. According to Elon Musk, don't get left behind. Now, this is all, you know, while he's dealing with lawsuits. I think one of his plants, like the Tesla plants, I think it's in California, dealing with a racism lawsuit because slurs were hurled on the factory floor, something along those lines. Look it up. Just look it up. And then when it comes to these implants that they're working on, animal testing, and apparently there's been some animal abuse. So Musk dealing with some lawsuits there, buddy. But he's talking about these transplants, these brain transplants, and transplants. Why am I calling them transplants? Implants. Implants. What is? See, this may be one of the flaws in my thinking of doing the debris double tap, is that by the time we get into the second episode, my brain is probably blah, 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 and my mouth is beginning to be all rubbery. So I'm going to be, messing up my talking and stuff like that. Could be a side effect of the double tap, the double episode. But yeah, brain implants, not transplant. That would be switching brains. Implants. But his idea behind this with the implants, again, don't get left behind, because we want to try and keep up with the artificial intelligence. So one way to do that is to achieve symbiosis with the artificial intelligence. Bless you, Hermione. Poor cat was sneezing too. Yes, that's right. Symbiosis with artificial intelligence. I'm sorry, but doesn't that sound like the beginning to an iRobot type of movie? Isn't that what that feels like? To become one with the computer. That all seems bad to me. Does that not seem bad to anybody? That seems bad. I'm serious. It seems bad. Symbiosis with artificial intelligence. Just think about that. Think about that. That's what Musk thinks. I hope he's the first one to do it, or maybe not, because then maybe he'll be like super smart, trying to take over the world with his robot friends. Oh, this could go all sorts of ways. Elon Musk, this is a dangerous motherfucker. I got my eye on him. Trust that dude right now. Anyway, enough nonsense. I think it's important to mention. I didn't bring it up in the first episode, the first pod, and because originally it was what I recorded 2 weeks ago at the beginning of February, and that's that it's February, and hey, y'all know what that means. It's Black History Month. And if you ask me, it's very important to celebrate that history. And did you know that it actually started out as Negro History Week? It then evolved into this month-long thing that, we now know as Black History Month. But it was held the second week of February. And part of the reason with the ties to February is because Abraham Lincoln, who we know fought for freedom of slaves, and Frederick Douglass, they both have February birthdays. Frederick Douglass, I believe they say, no real record, but I believe they just labeled the 14th. Excuse me. Now I got to look it up to make sure. Now I got to look it up to make sure. When was February 20th? So what was the 14th one? Was it Lincoln's? Okay, when's Lincoln's birthday? Lincoln's birthday, February 12th. So I don't know what the hell I'm talking about then. I read something about the 14th somewhere. Or maybe just is stuck in my head because it's Valentine's. Yeah. Happy Valentine's, by the way. Ridiculous fucking Hallmark card holiday, which enough people bitch about. But I'm going to still bitch about it anyway because it is quite ridiculous. But also, not a bad day to celebrate love. You know, it's there. You might as well celebrate the love. You should try and celebrate the love every day, my friends. But, give it a little extra on Valentine's. That's what it's there for, I suppose. That's the good, the good outlook on it. But February, so big for love and for Black history. And despite the fact that some want to downplay the mistreatment of Black folks in our history, that white people have this thing about, the guilt and this and that, and feel guilty about our history, blah, blah, blah. A lot of those people cowards, man. It's just like if you're trying to improve something, a business, yourself, right? What do? You look at the defects, right? You look at the areas that need improvement. It's what alcoholics and addicts do. It's what I had to do when sobering up. You look at the worst and you work on that. Build yourself back up. Build your business back up. Whatever it is. The bad is a reminder to do better, to be better, right? And that's why this month in Black history is so important for this country. To remind us we're better than that. Even though it does seem like a good chunk of the nation sure did fucking forget it. It's a damn shame we haven't come along further since the celebration began, But we celebrate nonetheless. Very important. Now I'll get into some more Black history tribute later on in the episode. But for now, we take a break and we come back with segment 2, where we're going to talk a little Lock Her Up that was trending out. Oh, that's fun stuff. Okay, we'll be right back. So, as previously mentioned, Lock Her Up was trending on Twitter recently. Because apparently her camp was doing a little spying into Trump's camp, is what it sounds like. Which Trump basically called punishable by death, which is so fun. Look, as I mentioned previously mentioned, I'm no fan of Hillary. If I thought she was worth the shit, I would have voted for her in 2016. I didn't vote for anybody. It was the first time and only time, because fuck both of them. And if she deserves time, if she did any sort of crime that she deserves time, then she should do the time. Didn't mean to make all that rhyme. Again, no allegiances to Clinton at all, but Trump, you supporters gonna ignore his shit? Y'all are all coming out for Lock Her Up. And you're ignoring him. Like, it's just baffling to me. But of course they don't believe he's done any wrong, Mr. Trump, but it just, Another one of those mind-boggling things. Another one of those mind-boggling things. But that's kind of the Trumper way. It's the Republican way nowadays. Not all of them, because there's still decent Republicans and conservatives out there. But the Trumpism movement has, taken over a large faction of that party. I mean, look at the Canadian truckers and the hypocrisy in how these people work. Trumpers, boy, they're supporting the shit out of these Canadian truckers protesting, COVID mandates. But that's despite the causing of major issues, and they're desecrating property. I've read a few times they're just pissing everywhere. And so you got these truckers causing this ruckus. Trumpers love it. Even though, I mean, I could have swore at one point in time, at least during the Black Lives Matter protest, these particular people, they were very concerned about property, weren't they? Very concerned about these large gatherings. But they're totally on board with these Canadian truckers. Like, it just blows my mind. Hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. They need a cologne for that shit, for all these assholes, so that we can smell it a mile away. Hypocrisy. And of course, when too long ago, Trump vowed to pardon the January 6th insurrectionists, which, some prominent Republicans railed against, which was good to see. But he said anyone treated unfairly will get pardons. And it's funny that his supporters, again, idiots that they are, Trump did say he loves uneducated people. I love the uneducated. Of course he does. Easy to manipulate, I imagine. But he's talking about this pardon thing, and it's like his supporters, they're applauding this, but they forget. Like, he could have pardoned them at the end of his presidency, but he didn't. And now all of a sudden, I don't know how all of his supporters can just view him as wishy-washy. They got it, I don't know. He's had an interesting couple of weeks himself, Mr. Trump. There's the stuff that came out about that executive order about seizing the voting machines. They say those who accuse others of something are usually guilty of it. He's doing a lot of accusations of fraud election. I maintain there's a good chance that Trump did cheat and still lost, and that's why he's so pissed. He's like, hey, they had to have cheated, and they had to have done better than me, because I cheated and I still lost. So this is impossible. They must have cheated way better than me if I cheated and lost. But I mean, he's steady trying to maintain his grip on his true supporters, even though he's losing them here and there. Some of the Republican cronies, and but a lot of damage has been done because the Trumpism movement has started. And you can look at the voting rights issues. I mean, because there's a lot of, and that's born of this whole big lie, the big lie. And it's because of the big lie, you had a lot of these red states, Republican leaders putting laws into motion that, will make it more difficult for particular people to vote. And here's the statistic from the Brennan Center for Justice. Okay. Between January 1st and December 7th of 2021, at least 19 states passed 34 laws restricting access to voting. More than 440 bills with provisions that restrict voting access have been introduced in 49 states in the 2021 legislative sessions. These numbers are extraordinary. State legislatures enacted far more restrictive voting laws in 2021 than any year since the Brennan Center began tracking voting legislation in 2011. More than a third of all restrictive voting laws enacted since 2011 were passed this year. And in a new trend this year, legislators introduced bills to allow partisan actors to interfere with election processes or even reject election results entirely. What? They want to be able to, so basically make it easier for states to just say, yeah, we don't like what the people said. We're going to go ahead and do our own thing. We don't like how the vote turned out here in our state. It's fucking ridiculous. And again, a lot of that born of the big lie, thanks to Trump. But I bring a lot of this up because what Trump and this group of far right, far left isn't helpful either. But it's undermining democracy. And Russia, we can thank in part for that. Russia, we're going to get plenty into Russia because, especially now, with tension so high between us and them. And as I mentioned, maybe on the previous pod, or was it earlier in this pod? I don't remember now. It's all running together. But Trump famously has ties to a Hitler book. Not necessarily Mein Kampf. I think Mein Kampf is another one, I think. And whether that's true or not, when there's smoke, there's fire. And as I said, there's plenty of things where you can look at it. There's a resemblance that makes you go, it feels like Trump studied Hitler. And we do know, I mean, whatever is true about him in the Hitler stuff, we do know for a fact he made quick friends with Putin, right? Go so far as to, never really stand up to him, even when it came to some American military being killed, right? Nothing was, seemed very reluctant to anger him or interfere with Russia. And it's funny how much he would, trash other people for being puppets and all that, but tis the ego of Trump. But I mean, this is his buddy, right? And yeah, Russian election interference. And we'll talk more about that. I mean, Russia's been in the news a lot lately. And I think with that said, it's important to understand what they've done to our country. There's reasons we should be wary of Russia and them becoming too powerful. And to begin, election interference, this might shock people, but it's really not all that uncommon across many countries. Even here in the US. But with Russia, it's in the 2016 election, basically they were using agents to corrupt Clinton's campaign and boost Trump's And they really worked on creating division, sowing that division in our country. And that's more of a long-term goal for them, for Russia. Putin wants us divided as possible as we could possibly be. We're close. And these agents, these Russian agents, they've they get a lot of accounts online. You can tell. Some people point it out on like, oh, must be a bot, okay, bot. But these agents, they push agendas during, well, the Colin Kaepernick situation, Black Lives Matter movement, Capitol riot. I mean, Putin himself was interviewed and was basically condemning Black Lives Matter and saying that the Capitol rioters were just citizens trying to make a political statement. And it's just like, so even he's adding into the division, right? Himself with his own words right there. And they did the same shit in the 2020 election. They've been behind COVID misinformation. And it just reminds me the COVID misinformation. A good example of just misinformation in general is how the world reacted to the time when Earth was passing through the tail of Halley's Comet. There's a lot of panic because people were afraid poisonous gases were in the tail, and because scientists had found that there was some. And you had people out there trying to scam motherfuckers, some anti-comet pills. And there's similarities, right? The misinformation, the creating of things. I mean, some dude was talking about, I can't even remember who it was. I should look it up. It's the whole drinking pee thing. Drinking pee to cure COVID. Like, okay, it's fucking assholes. It's just, it amazes me what people will believe, but that's what happens in a country where college education isn't free. And there's a lot of people who, maybe if it was free, they go ahead and get a college education, but it's not free. They don't want to go into debt. They don't got the money to spend, so they're going to go ahead and just go right into the workforce, and they're going to be uneducated and not as intelligent as some other folks, and they're going to be missing out on some stuff they need to know when it comes to, they're going to be easily manipulated. It's not to sound elitist or say, yeah, you suck if you don't get a college education, because that's not true. There's plenty of, now you can look at, some entertainers out there who never had a college education. Plenty are smart, but there's a difference between intelligent and educated. And being educated can help improve everything else. Just can. But it's a good pool of people to manipulate and pass some misinformation through, is the uneducated. But really, it's at the point with COVID that even people who are vaxxed, and again, I'm a little biased because, of my situation and members in my family being high risk. We take shit serious and we're careful. But it is at the point where a lot of vax people are even like, hey, we're over this shit. We're with the science, right? But hey, the fucking assholes who don't want to take the vaccine aren't going to take the vaccine. So let's just, fuck them. We got to get back to life. So there's a lot of frustration, I think, all around. You got plenty of states all over the place dropping mask mandates, all that stuff, Democratic ones included. And again, a lot of people think I'm probably some big Democrat, some liberal, and again, as previously mentioned, I do agree with more of their, ideals. But I go right back to The two-party system sucks. It sucks. It sucks. It sucks. It sucks. But again, I will generally side with the left because it's hard to side with the group who, in one state passing a law to allow 18-year-olds to bring guns to high school, and that would be in Wisconsin, which I just think is, yeah, great job. That won't fucking lead to any bad situations at all. Wisconsin, great job there. Fuck off. Here's the bottom line with Russia. They want us destroyed. They really do. And they're closer than they've been in a while, if ever. So, fucking Russia. We got more about Russia coming up after a quick break. I know. Russia. Nice little poof of some marijuana right there. Some blue dream, yes indeed. Mans and womans. So we got Russia stirring up shit, getting in our business. They've been doing it a while. But now shit's getting real serious. Because Putin was a fan of Trump. He don't like Mr. Biden so much. And then you had the Winter Olympics begin, and Putin buddying up to Z. So now you got China and Russia like, we're going to stick together. We got each other's back. Does that not give you World War III vibes? This shit shouldn't make anyone feel good. Fucking Olympics going on. This stupid... And I shouldn't call it stupid because it's been going on. There's tradition to it, and the athletes in particular spend years of their life to be in the Olympics. But it's also become what it's become is a huge money grab, and we're having this go on while there is a genocide of the Uyghur people happening right now while we celebrate this global athletic event. For Trumpers, all about democracy and freedom, how can you be okay with this? Not what those dudes are about. Putin, Z. I mean, Trump's buddies with Putin. Should be truly concerned for democracy everywhere. It's scary. It's scary. And, we'll see what happens with the Russia-Ukraine situation. But it's looking increasingly likely that Putin's going to invade. And I mean, again, this goes back to, they're trying to redraw the boundaries, the post-Cold War boundaries. And again, it's fucking oddly familiar to, we go back to Hitler, oddly similar to Hitler. Hey, we just want the Sudetenland back. We just want some stuff back we used to have. That's all we want, is some stuff back we used to have. It just feels like we got these are the two new baddies on the block, and now they've tag teamed, and it's scary. And Biden, who they promised swift justice. If or I don't know if that's not the right term, but apparently Biden's ready to rip into them if they invade Ukraine. So we'll see what happens. We'll have to follow this, and because like I've talked about, it's what Putin does is not all that dissimilar from the baddies, the fascist dictators, the baddies that we've known from World War II era, right? Alexei Navalny, did ring a bell? And then you got Z, China guy, and this motherfucker is leading a country that's committing genocide. These are some bad motherfuckers, and we got to try and stick together. We got to try and stick together. But again, that's one of the reasons to try and further divide us if you're Russia. And obviously, they've successfully aided in that division. Proven true. But all we can do now is wait and see if Russia invades, what the US response is, and where it goes from there. Holy shit. World War III vibes like a motherfucker. But enough seriousness. I know. Had a lot of that. We got to talk about the serious shit. I try and make it as fun as possible. That sounds weird, but we do got to talk about the serious shit. There's a lot of serious, crazy shit going on in the world right now. But let's have a little fun, right? My son, obviously they've been, as I mentioned previously, my son, very into Star Wars, the both of them, and he's also really gotten into paranormal stuff, right? And the wife and I love this, the ghost shit, UFO stuff, all of that. I mean, my wife and I actually, we used to watch Ghost Adventures all the fucking time, and we're big fans of the show. And even though Zach, the leader, is a little bit doofy, he's kind of a dick. And we always laugh because my wife came up with the theory one time that I think Zach is a cokehead. The rest of the guys are potheads. So that's kind of the relationship they have. Like he's the weird coked out dude while everyone else is laid back and stoned. and in some episodes you really do get that vibe. Like, yeah, they're all just high. Zach's fucking coked up, ready to go. But he is kind of a douche. Zach is. But it's a good show. There's some episodes with some really good evidence. But a paranormal caught on camera is one that's been playing a lot in the house lately, thanks to the 7-year-old. And there's a good amount of Bigfoot in that show. And I never much cared for Bigfoot, but I got to admit I've gotten a little into it. And I got this one UFO podcast I listen to, which I think is just called Podcast UFO. Is it? I don't remember. But it's a good show, and there's quite a few people who tend to believe that there is some sort of relationship between Bigfoot and alien, like that there's, UFOs, what we see in the skies and the paranormal, that there's all sort of a connection. And when you look at something like Skinwalker Ranch, where there are UFO sightings, but also portal sightings and creature sightings and different things. I mean, yeah, you got to believe that there could be a little bit of a tie and a connection to all of this. So that it has gotten me more interested in Bigfoot, and I have seen some clips that were pretty good looking. Um, but then there was an episode that showed me something I had never heard of before, and I found it quite intriguing, and that would be the Nightcrawlers. Now, you can find all these videos, but there's the Montana Nightcrawlers, the Fresno Nightcrawlers, and then there's a video of some in Yosemite National Park. But it's crazy. They're basically they're like pale white, and they're like two legs and a head, basically. Like if you walk your finger, like use your your index finger and your middle finger to walk, like you're walking. That's what they look like with a head on top. And it's the craziest thing. Um, but you really gotta you gotta check these 'cause it blew my mind. I know a lot of mind blowing and mind bending on the debris double tap. A lot of mind melting, mind bending things happening. That's right. But yeah, it's Nightcrawlers. It's another interesting aspect of all of this, and I'm convinced that a big part of all of this has to be dimensional, multi dimensions. I mean, the idea of portals, it's so fucking interesting. There's that. I had heard, again, on my UFO pod, that there's actually a lab somewhere, I want to say in Nevada, that's doing research on portals. And, don't quote me on that 'cause I'm not entirely sure, and I don't have a source for it. So I know I'm going very opposite of what I know. But it's it's so interesting. I mean, again, Skinwalker Ranch, you have some scientists that did research on Skinwalker Ranch, that were there at Skinwalker, that actually come out and say, hey, we saw a fucking portal and a creature coming out of a portal. These scientists. So, I mean, yeah, it's portals. I find that highly, highly intriguing, the idea of them. And I would love to learn so much more about them. And there is a theory that, certain creatures, paranormal stuff, particularly ghosts, maybe, but particularly Bigfoot, that Bigfoot may travel this way, because there's a lot of people that they'll be following the tracks of the Bigfoot and they just stop. They're gone. Hopping in a portal would certainly explain that. But when you get down to it, madcaps, I think it's not believable at all that this is all there is, that there's not more to reality. And I can only hope, in my lifetime, in our lifetime, we get answers. We get answers. I suppose that's the wish of many. I do imagine. I mean, what if you woke up tomorrow and the sky was just all Independence Day looking, big old craft just chilling right there? The fuck would you do? What would you do? I think I would speed my ass to the dispensary, make sure I get some marijuana. Gotta have the marijuana. I mean, you gotta have enough ganja. You gotta have as much as possible, really, because you gotta figure, if alien invasion, it could be a minute before you get more. you might want to immediately start growing some somewhere. So I definitely stock up on ganja because, yeah, it might be hard to come by at some point in time. And assuming the aliens are friendly, you're gonna want to smoke them up. You know, maybe they got some fucking bomb ass, fire ass alien weed. They match a bowl or a joint or a blunt. You can get space high, high, alien high, weed, alien weed, space weed. That would be great. That's what I would probably do first. But I assume they're friendly. I really do. I hope. There's probably both. You know, I have the theory that the whole idea of the anal probe is not because, the aliens really like to, I mean, I do imagine aliens do abduct people to study them, but I don't imagine they're really necessarily trying to look up our ass. I think that was just a couple of asshole teenager aliens who just started going around Earth probing people, and now they get a bad rap. You go to get abducted, you're on the ship, you open your eyes, and you're like, oh, please just don't probe me. And they're just all pissed off. Like, you gotta, those motherfuckers, Daryl and Kevin, they wouldn't have just been fucking probing people for the past 500 years. They wouldn't have this idea that we enjoy doing that. Because I could see it going something like that, Sorry, that was terrible. But yeah. So, paranormal caught on camera. Become a fan. No, they're not a sponsor, but they should be. Paranormal caught on camera, or Science Channel, or Discovery Channel. If you would like to sponsor me. Okay, before we go, a little bit more of a tribute to Black History Month. And I'm going to try and get a little bit of stuff in the last pod or two. Would it be two, last pod of the month? But I wanted to mention, some lesser known important figures in Black history. And I begin with Bayard Rustin. Now, this dude, he's a big part of the March on Washington in 1963. In fact, he did a lot of the organizing for it. And the reason he kind of wasn't the main face for that march, which ultimately fell to Martin Luther King. But the reason is because he was gay and he did have some ties to communism. So they just didn't feel they could put him front and center. Then there's Bessie Coleman. Now, she was the first Black licensed pilot. She paved the way for the Tuskegee. I have such a terrible time with this fucking word, Tuskegee airmen and other Black pilots. She really paved the way. And then there's another first, Dr. Rebecca Crumpler. And she was the first Black woman doctor in the United States. Then there's Robert Sengstack Abbott, founder of the Chicago Defender, which is a weekly newspaper, led to a lot of big things there. And these are just, there's a lot of these names you can find if you go and look into Black history where, you might not know them as well as a Rosa Parks or a Martin Luther King, but, so many people played a role in trying to get us where we're at today. And, I mentioned earlier that, we haven't come far enough. And it's true. It's true. We have not come far enough. But we have come a little ways in all of this. It's a little bit more fair than it used to be. While there is still systemic racism, and I'm not blind. It's clearly still an issue. And really, Trump and the rise of Trumpism gave, power to those who feel that way, who the Confederate flag people, and you know. So it's a crazy time, but yet still, it's not quite as bad as it was before. So it's good to embrace this history, learn about it, particularly, as I said, at a time when there are people intentionally trying to ignore it. There are people who will refuse to allow their children to get taught it in schools. I mean, you know, stupid shit like that. It's a big part of the history of the US. And again, it's important to look at the bad parts of our country, the bad history, all of that, so we can remember to do better. That's what I got for you, Madcaps. That's what I got for you. It's a whole lot of talking. The double tap, the debris double tap. So let's end this tea party. That's right. I think it's time. I didn't eat in my break. I went ahead and said, I'm going to go ahead and just start the oven. And then I'm going to have a pizza. I normally don't like to have pizza shortly before laying down and going to bed, but it's happening tonight. So I just have to take some medicine. Hope my tummy doesn't get too full. I know what you're thinking, right? Ryan, Chatter, just don't eat the pizza. Eat something else. But here's the thing. I'm going to eat the pizza. I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to eat the pizza. All right, let's get the hell out of here. Oh, that's right. Thank you, Madcaps. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. I appreciate every single one of you, all 5 of you. Yes, I did. And don't forget to check out my socials at RMK Madness.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for enjoying.
Chatter is here.
The debris double tap. It's been fun. I've enjoyed it. But I'm going to go eat some pizza and then hit the hay. So remember, until next time, stay safe, vigilant, and mad. And remember, we're all fucking human beings. Chatter's out. Peace out.